Hi, I'm Rachel Lundbaum from the University of Minnesota Crookston. I'm going to give you an overview on marketing and market research that you can and how you can find this research that you're going to need for your business plan for the IDEA competition. So we'll talk about the types of marketing research, where you can find industry research, where you can find info for your target market, as well as information on your competitors. So the main types of marketing research are secondary and primary. So secondary research is probably going to be mostly what you use, and this is information that has already been collected by somebody else. So it could include things like industry reports, which you will be given from the IDEA competition. It could be data from the US Census Bureau. It could be info from trade organizations that you belong to. For example, if you are a craft brewer, you might belong to a craft brewing organization who has a lot of info on that industry and the consumers and competitors and so forth. So you would want to try to access that info. Primary data is data that you collect for the purpose of answering a specific question. This could include things like internal company data, web or social media analytics. You could do a focus group or a survey to try to find out some specific answers to a question you have, or it could just be interviews with a few select individuals. So these are all types of research that you can use to help you with your business plan. Now I'm going to talk about the specific parts of your business plan that you will use marketing research. So the first is you need to find out info on your industry. And like I said, you're going to be given your industry data from the IDEA competition. So you need to understand what industry your product or service fits into. Usually this is pretty straightforward, but sometimes it can be a little bit cloudy. And then really understanding what's happening in that industry. What are the trends? Are sales increasing? Are sales decreasing? Are sales projected to increase? What's happening? What are the with the consumers? What are some of the new trends, as in innovation within that industry, etc. So you want to look at all those things. So you can find this in industry reports and in those trade publications that we've talked about, and you can gain some of this info through the databases through your library. The big one is called Academic Search Premier or Business Source Premier. So if you go to your library, the librarian can help you find this info and these databases. Otherwise, one of your local universities would probably be able to help as well. And I've listed the regional libraries in the region. So you also need to be able to describe your target market, or who your main consumer is, or the type of person who's most likely going to buy your product. So you need to understand the demographics. So what are their age? What is their income level? What gender are they? So if you know a specific geographic location of your target market, then you can go to the US Census and find info on all the demographics that you need. And it's just, I believe, census.gov. I always use something called American Fact Finder, so you can look up that. You can also use data your company's collected. You have internal intelligence. You know who your past customers have been. This is valuable data you can use in your business plan. You can also, again, use that industry data. For example, if you're in the tourism industry, there are tourism reports on Explore Minnesota, etc., that you could use. And again, those information from trade groups that could be formal and informal. For example, if you're manufacturing something, there's Highway 2 West Manufacturers Association in the region that you could probably try to get, or probably would have some information to help you. Again, any of this info can be obtained through primary research, such as focus group surveys, etc. You also want to understand the lifestyle of your consumer. Again, this is going to be in a lot of that industry data or those trade websites or trade data. You could also just be something you know or something you've observed in your own business, so you can use that. You could try to find out where the people who are buying your product live. One really interesting place to find this is through your website analytics. So web analytics have to be set up on your website, but they track who comes to your website, what they look at, where they're from, etc. And so it can literally map it out on a map of where people are looking at your products and services from. And again, in the industry data. And then what about the buying behavior of your consumer? How do they go through the buying process? Where do they buy similar products and get some and receive similar services? Your current sales force, if you have one, is a really, really, really great resource for this that you can mention in your business plan. Again, focus group surveys, interviews, and it might be available in industry reports, but it might not. So next we're going to talk about your competition. So we need to understand who our competition is and what they're up to. So there's 3 types of competition. So there's direct competitors, the people that we're truly, truly competing against. Indirect competitors, we're competing against them, but not totally. I mean, there's other more major competitors. And then there's substitute products. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're an Applebee's restaurant. Your direct competitors are Olive Garden, Ground Round, Red Lobster. Those truly those restaurants who truly compete against on a day-to-day basis. Indirect competitors are going to be like McDonald's, Subway, Burger King. While somebody who is likely to go to Applebee's probably wouldn't say, should we go to McDonald's or Applebee's? But it still is another option for them. So we have to remember, there's other indirect competitors as well. And then substitute products in this case would be eating at home, grocery stores, etc. So you really, for your business plan, want to really focus in on your direct competitors, but also acknowledge your indirect and substitute products and services and competitors. So where can you find out information about your competitors? Well, obviously those industry reports might have this stuff. You can, if you know who your competitors are and they're a publicly traded company, they're going to have an annual report and you can access that. You can look at trade groups, publications. You can Google them and see if they're in the news, find out more about them. It could just be basic observation, things you've observed about them. So these are all things that you are going to want to research for your business plan. And at the Idea Lab, we'll discuss this more in depth, but this should help to get you started. So